Thanks so much for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Ephraim Graham.
And I'm Charlene Israel. Nearly 2,000 people are known dead from the devastating typhoon in the Philippines. Desperation is growing as hundreds of thousands of survivors search for food, water, and medical help. Massive relief operations have begun, but a shattered infrastructure is making the work extremely difficult. Heather Sells has the latest.
It's still not clear just how many have died after a once-in-a-lifetime typhoon hit the Philippines on Friday.
Truckloads of dead bodies, like hundreds.
What is clear, the storm has displaced more than 500,000 people. They're living in rubble and desperate for food and water.
We're so very hungry and thirsty. That's why we're here.
Military planes have begun evacuating survivors from hard-hit Tacloban to Manila. But thousands are left behind, waiting for relief. The U.S. has pledged $20 million in immediate aid. It's sending the aircraft carrier the USS George Washington. Marines have already landed. CBN Disaster Relief is working to clear roads so that governments and humanitarian groups can bring in desperately needed supplies. CBN is also shipping water purification devices that will disinfect more than 500,000 gallons a day. And CBN has medical workers on the ground. Many of those injured in Tacloban are fighting for their lives at this makeshift hospital at the airport. For many, medical help is needed immediately.
He needs dialysis, and he's been off now for 2 days, and he's in critical condition. And so if the world's out there, send help, because these people need it.
The typhoon these people survived may be the strongest ever recorded. Newly released video shows its deadly force as it pushed water inland, destroying lives and communities. Today, sadly, more misery. Another tropical storm, although much weaker, hit this country, followed by a small earthquake. Heather Sells, CBN News.
If you'd like to help with the CBN disaster relief effort or find out more about what the teams are doing, visit our website, cbnnews.com.
Some of the world's top human rights abusers are being named for seats on the United Nations Human Rights Council. China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Vietnam, and Algeria were all running unopposed for seats on the body. All 5 are known for religious and political persecution. The executive director of UN Watch said, quote, "They consistently vote the wrong way on UN initiatives to protect the human rights of others. For the UN to elect Saudi Arabia as a world judge on human rights would be like a town making a pyromaniac into chief of the fire department."
New figures tell a mixed story about America's economic recovery. On one hand, fewer homeowners are falling behind on their mortgages. The percentage of those who are at least 2 months behind has fallen to just a little more than 4%. The figure was 4.3% in the previous quarter. But the Daily Caller reports the number of Americans dropping out of the workforce has climbed to a record high of more than 91 million people. These are people who have stopped looking for work altogether.
A federal court of appeals is blocking the controversial birth control mandate in the president's health care law. The 7th Circuit Court has ruled in favor of a Catholic business. It was suing over the mandate that forces companies to provide coverage for contraceptives and drugs that cause abortions. The American Center for Law and Justice represents the Illinois company. They say the court's decision, quote, represents a significant victory for protecting the religious beliefs of individuals and corporations. The ruling increases the chance the U.S. Supreme Court will take up the case.
Despite President Obama's repeated promises that Americans could keep their health insurance under Obamacare, a new report says 52 million people could lose their plans. And as Caitlin Burke reports, others are finding out that their insurance costs are skyrocketing.
For millions of Americans, the reality of Obamacare is hitting home in the form of a letter. Those letters look something like this, informing them that they're losing their current insurance coverage because it doesn't comply with the new health law. And that means some people are finding themselves with new, much more expensive insurance plans.
I called them and I said, this must be a mistake. I got this letter that said my premiums are doubling. What's going on here? And the woman told me that I was considered medically underinsured with my previous plan.
Experts say that policy advisors on both sides of the aisle, including those in the White House, knew this would happen before Obamacare was even signed into law.
It's an outcome that's built into the design of the bill. I mean, if you're going to require that everyone has to have health insurance, then you have to define what is health insurance. And if you define what is health insurance, some people's insurance that they currently have isn't going to meet that definition.
Kathy Cairo is one of those people. She's a realtor in Columbus, Ohio, and she says her individual health care plan was exchanged for enhanced coverage. But it's not just her family that her new coverage takes care of.
The first thing she said to me was, you now have coverage, dental and vision coverage for all children under the age of 12. So I raised my hand and I said, okay, stop right there. I have no children under the age of 12. I said, so take that off my plan. And she said, we can't do that. She said, Obamacare mandates that under this enhanced coverage, that you now cover every child under the age of 12. And I said, well, ma'am, could you do me a favor? Could you give me all of their names? Because I would like to go to them and ask them, since I'm putting braces and glasses on your children, would you kindly contribute to my children's college education? Because I will now struggle to pay that.
In many cases, enrolling in Obamacare means higher monthly premiums, but also higher deductibles, making medical care at hospitals like this one nearly impossible to afford.
I will probably, hopefully, never need my insurance because I'll never meet that deductible. I have to pay up to $5,000. I still have a 20% copay. It is really catastrophic insurance and paying for other people's kids.
And it wasn't just her deductible that went up. Her premium increased from just under $800 a month to nearly $1,400.
There's going to be winners and losers. The big thing is that most people are going to end up paying more than they are today.
But Cairo says the government has no right to decide those winners and losers, including herself.
How dare you in Washington tell me that because of my hard work, I now should not only be responsible for my children, but I have to pay for somebody else who has not had the work ethic that I have, who has not made it work every day, who has spent their money unwisely, who has gotten up every day relying on somebody else. How dare you tell me that my health plan is not sufficient?
Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Columbus, Ohio.
The Conservative Baptist Association is suing the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. The suit alleges two of its chaplains were ridiculed because of their faith by the head of the San Diego Department of Veterans Affairs. One of the chaplains left the program due to the harassment. Not long after, the program leader dismissed the one remaining. The attorney representing these chaplains say the actions alleged were a violation of federal law and the religious freedom guarantees of the First Amendment.
6 states are refusing to process benefits for married same-sex military couples. That is despite a recent order from the Defense Secretary. They say the Pentagon order conflicts with state laws. Oklahoma Governor Mary Fallin says that the decision protects the integrity of our state constitution and sends a message to the federal government that they cannot simply ignore our laws or the will of the people. Texas, Georgia, Louisiana, West Virginia, and Mississippi are also refusing the benefits.
Hawaii is set to become the latest state to legalize same-sex marriage. The state Senate is expected to pass a bill today before sending it to the governor, who has pledged to sign it. The House of Representatives approved the measure last week. Meanwhile, an openly lesbian lawmaker voted against the bill because it doesn't have good religious protections. Representative Jo Jordan told Honolulu Magazine if the religious exemptions are not bulletproof, she's concerned the law will be challenged in court.
Coming up, the dangerous threat beneath the surface, why the world needs to keep an eye on the terrorist group Hezbollah.
Hi, my name is Breda. I'm just your typical 9-year-old. I love singing, dancing, reading, discovering the simple truth. My grandpa says you're never too young or old to learn the value of a dollar. He taught me the true value of this paper dollar. You see this little gold coin? It says $1 on it. But guess what? That was a long time ago. Today, this gold dollar is worth over 100 paper dollars. This paper dollar is now only worth 1 penny compared to America's former money, the gold dollar. My grandpa says the only money worth saving today is real money, gold or silver coins. He's pretty smart. How our paper dollars lost their value, he says. It's all explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. It's easy and fun to read. If you call the number on the screen, I will send you a copy, totally free. Next time, I'll explain the simple truth about money.
Help! If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was. Help! And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
The civil war in Syria and the nuclear negotiations over Iran have captured a lot of headlines lately. But buried beneath the surface is the ongoing threat of the terrorist group Hezbollah.
The group is funded by Iran's Islamic regime and is helping Syria's regime fight the rebels. Hezbollah is also active around the globe. CBN's George Thomas recently took a deeper look at the threat with author Matthew Levitt.
Matthew Levitt with the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. He is an expert in the inner workings of the terror group Hezbollah. And in fact, he has a new book out. It's called Hezbollah, the Global Footprint of Lebanon's Party of God. Dr. Levitt, great to have you on the broadcast. First thing, Israel recently launched an attack against Syria in the port city of Latakia. The argument was that there were Russian-made missiles heading to Hezbollah. How significant was this?
First, George, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It was significant in the sense that the Israelis have said they have a red line in terms of Hezbollah getting qualitative weapons, not just chemical weapons, but shoulder-fired missiles or other missiles that could pose significant risks to their citizens. And this is now the third time, at least publicly, that we know the Israelis have followed through on this threat.
Hezbollah is actively involved today in Syria.
Hezbollah is the most important fighting force on behalf of the regime today in Syria, period. They are all in. And even today's Washington Post is reporting that it's only because of Hezbollah and Iraqi Shia militants and some Iranians that the regime is able to make some of the advances that they've made in the past few days in the north. Hezbollah is taking losses as one
significant losses, is my understanding.
Significant, but probably in the hundreds, maybe low thousands, not enough to really mitigate their military capabilities, which we believe is about 4,000 to 5,000 people on the ground at a time.
Can they continue providing forces for the Assad regime?
At this rate of loss, yes. That's not a problem for them. Their big concern is that if Assad doesn't win, if they're not able to do what they're trying to do there, then they lose the land bridge from Iran for resupply of these weapons. And that's why it's so important for Hezbollah to keep trying, and that's why this is a red line for the Israelis. Yes, you might be able to continue fighting in Syria given the relatively low losses you're incurring, but at a certain point you're going to need more weapons, and if we can prevent you from getting qualitative weapons, that's going to hurt you.
They are a terrorist organization, and they have global plans, not just in the Middle East, right?
Well, this is a complicated group. It would be easy if it was just a political party in Lebanon, which it is, but it's also a social welfare provider in Lebanon and a standing militia in Lebanon, but it's also an international terrorist group and an organized criminal enterprise, and they're involved in arms procurement around the world. The purpose of my book, which focuses on Hezbollah outside of Lebanon, is not to say that Hezbollah isn't all those other things in Lebanon. Obviously it is. There's lots of literature on that. Some of it's even good. But there was no literature on Hezbollah abroad, not in the United States, North America, or South America, not in Europe, not in the rest of the Middle East, but also, for example, I was able to put together chapters on Hezbollah in Africa, Hezbollah in Southeast Asia. And this is a significant presence, not to get hysterical about it, but they have capabilities, sometimes for procurement of false documents, sometimes for procurement of weapons, other times for actually carrying out terrorist attacks.
To help our viewers understand the threat of this group, what are their ambitions with their involvement in Africa, South America, and other parts of Europe. And so what's their goal?
Well, they have multiple goals, and at any given time, some of those goals will take precedence over others. They have interest in Lebanon, to be sure. Those clearly right now are taking second fiddle to their role as a strategic partner to Iran. This is no longer a proxy group to Iran. This is, as the U.S. intelligence community now describes it, Iran and Hezbollah are in a strategic partnership with Iran as the primary partner. So they're trying to raise funds among their diasporas, like all the other groups in Lebanon, the Maronite Christians and the Sunnis always did for years. But they're also trying to build power within Lebanon. They want to create ultimately a Shia Islamic state in all or part of Lebanon, but much more that far beyond Lebanon. They have become a key player in helping Iran to export the revolution, and even short of that today, helping export Iran's power projection.
Okay, Dr. Matthew Levitt, thank you
Pleasure
so much for joining us on the broadcast. Great
Thank you
to
for
have
having me.
Up next, a World War II vet looks back at the young soldier he once was. Watch how this American hero and many others receive tribute on the honor flight.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
They are part of the greatest generation, and they're a national treasure. We're talking about the veterans of World War II.
And those who are still living today are mostly in their 80s and 90s. And recently, a group of them visited Washington, D.C. as part of a tribute known as the Honor Flight. Take a look.
16 million men and women served in uniform in World War II. And it's not an exaggeration to say that those men and women helped save the world, and it made our country safe for our freedoms and democracy. So they are absolutely heroes.
It was in that spirit that the Honor Flight Network was born. It all began in 2005 with 12 World War II veterans from Ohio.
The mission of the Honor Flight Network is to get America's veterans from any era to Washington, D.C. to visit the memorials and monuments that were built to honor their sacrifice and service.
The idea spread like wildfire, and today there are more than 100 Honor Flight hubs in 41 states.
It's just our opportunity to say thank you and to welcome them home and say, job well done.
Last month, the Virginia hub took 89 veterans to Washington for the day. We talked with two of them a week before the trip. Preble and Isabel Staver of Norfolk, Virginia are both World War II veterans. When they met in Philadelphia during the war, he was already enlisted in the Marines.
That's a callow youth, still wet behind the ears.
Wet behind,
I thought, what did I get myself into? But I mean, the war's a war. We knew we'd eventually go.
Preble's service inspired Isabel to enlist as well, as a nurse.
I decided it would be nice to go in the Navy and serve my country too.
But marriage would have to wait. In February 1945, the 5th Marine Division landed on Iwo Jima and for 36 days fought one of the fiercest, bloodiest battles of World War II. Preble was with them.
It was hell. The whole landscape was nothing but volcanic ash. Boy, they tore them up on the beach. Well, you're under great tension, under great pressure, you're under gun bar. You're there. That's your job. You do what you have to do.
He was also witness to what later became one of the most famous images in war history.
So I look up there and there's a flag. You knew everything was going to be all right.
Preble was awarded the Bronze Star for his artillery field work on Iwo Jima.
You wonder how you got singled out. We're all there. We're all doing our job. So you're humble. Call me humble.
After the war and years of writing letters, Preble and Isabel married in 1946. Now, 67 years later, the Stavers, along with the other veterans and volunteers, boarded buses for mission number 10. At ODARC 30, family, military staff, even high school ROTC members came out to cheer the veterans on. The first stop of the day was the Korean War Memorial, dedicated in 1995.
It's a monument to those that served with me.
Great to be here and think about your fellow men that can't be here.
Yep. They're the real heroes.
Then they visited the World War II Memorial, dedicated in 2004.
When that memorial was completed, the estimate was that 75% of those veterans who had served in World War II had already passed away. And I think they really take that to heart because they're representing all of their friends and all of the people that they fought next to.
Senator Bob Dole was there to greet his fellow veterans. Young service members came out to greet the veterans too.
Something I wish every service member, every person in general could do.
These type of things, they won't be able to go on forever. This is a fading piece of history, and it's important that we're here to document it, and we're here to honor it, and we're here to make sure that we remember where we came from.
And for those who served in that war,
the impact of the World War II Memorial, and I'm World War II, was massive. It was brought down into a very personal thing because they have listed the major battles that I was in Europe.
Well, it's tremendous. It's awesome to see all the veterans, to see all the public, and the respect they show. Unbelievable.
Each of the veterans was assigned a volunteer or guardian to help them along the journey.
Being a retired Navy myself, it's such an honor to be able to be a part of the honor flight. The veterans are precious and they have sacrificed so much for us to be able to even be here.
Next came the Iwo Jima Memorial. A giant statue of the iconic flag raising was dedicated in 1954. Then, at Arlington National Cemetery, they had a front row seat for the changing of the guard at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Arlington has special meaning for the Stavers. Their son Whitney, a Vietnam veteran, is buried there. So is Mr. Staver's brother, Hugh. Their last stop was at the National Museum of the Marine Corps, opened in 2006. The immersion exhibits let visitors see, hear, feel, and even smell what battles were like. Maggie Young, who is 98.5 years young, was a stateside Army supply officer during World War II.
We were all very concerned. We were losing the war to begin with, you know, and that was scary.
Then on the ride home, something very special took place. Mail call. Every one of the veterans received letters of appreciation from family, friends, and even school kids. Finally, the end of a very long, very meaningful day. For the men and women who served our country so well, it's one they'll never forget.
We know we need each other. We really do. It's just been a real happy day.
Wouldn't have missed it. Speechless. That's not like me.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music. It's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film.
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
That parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG, now playing. If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music. It's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film.
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
That parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG, now playing.
Finally, across the country Monday, America paused to honor our veterans for their service.
In Nevada, there is one veteran who got a little bit of extra attention. At 103 years old, Ivan Woodard is the oldest living veteran in the state. He lived through several wars, and now he's being recognized for his naval service in a big way. He's been given a state holiday.
It's something unexpected, but it's something I'm kind of glad they recognize me in my old age, because not too many people get to be 103.
I did not know they were going to name a day after him. That was quite a surprise, and I felt very, very proud of him. I am proud of him.
Ivan first enlisted in 1942, another true American treasure. Let's celebrate him.
She says
for sure.
We're proud of him. We are proud of him, too.
We are proud indeed.
Definitely.
You got that right.
Well, that's it for now on CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. See you here tomorrow.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.